Hi there, very good evening and welcome to the news at 6 where we get you the day's top stories here on Rajya Sabha TV. Monday evening, there's lots making news. Let's start with the headlines. Hostile words from across the border amid ceasefire violations. Pakistani army chief calls Kashmir unfinished agenda of partition, warns about the unbearable costs of war. China-driven volatility continues to take Indian markets down. Sensex slips below the psychological 25,000 mark for the first time in 15 months. The Assam flood situation continues to be critical. Death toll crosses 40 as the Brahmaputra river flows above the danger mark in many places. Two Indians are detained for questioning in the Bangkok bombing case. Both were allegedly spotted talking to a suspect in the case. And in the addition to throwing open its borders to thousands of migrants, Germany loosens its purse strings too, pledges €6 billion to assist the refugees. Top story this evening, India and Pakistan may be preparing for the DGMO level talk starting on the 9th of September, but the rhetoric from both sides continues to escalate. In a veiled warning to India, Pakistan Army Chief General Raheel Sharif has said that his country was ready for all kinds of war, long or short. This after the Union Minister Rajyavardhan Singh Rathore reportedly said in an interview that India could neutralize its enemies like Dawood Ibrahim in covert operations. However, Rathore later clarified that he was misquoted.
A dire warning amid frequent ceasefire violations. Pak Army Chief General Raheel Sharif says his troops are ready to tackle any kind of misadventure by the enemy amid a warning to India that in case of a war there would be unbearable damage. At a special event organized to mark the 50th anniversary of the 1965 war, Sharif reiterated that the Pakistan Army was capable of defeating external aggression of any kind before warning of the unbearable costs. General Sharif's remarks are being seen as a response to a statement by Indian Army Chief General Dalbir Singh Suhag last week. General Suhag had said that the Indian Army was prepared for swift, short nature of future wars.
The swift, short nature of future wars are likely to offer limited warning time. This calls for maintaining very high levels of operational preparedness at all times.
General Sharif also referred to Kashmir as the unfinished agenda of partition. His warning that Kashmir cannot be put on the back burner came amid an 8th day of ceasefire violations in Jammu and Kashmir this month alone. Pakistani troops pounded forward posts and civilian areas in Poonch district along the line of control, forcing the Indian Army to retaliate. Pakistan Rangers fired mortar shells, rocket projectile grenades and used automatic weapons to target the forward posts. 7 civilians were injured in the firing while 1 person died. Meanwhile, Minister of State for Information Broadcasting Rajyavardhan Singh Rathore has issued a clarification on his remarks about covert operations to capture Dawood Ibrahim. Rathore said he had spoken about dossier diplomacy even as the TV channel he gave the interview to quotes him as saying that India's enemies like Dawood Ibrahim and LAT Chief Hafiz Saeed should not believe that India is not thinking about them. We always remain ready to neutralize our enemy. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
We'll take a closer look at this story on India at 9. Join us then, of course. Slumpy in stock markets resuming on Monday with the Sensex slipping below the psychological 25,000 mark for the first time in 15 months. The fall today is being attributed to weakness in the rupee. The Indian currency, in fact, declined 39 paise to hit a 2-year low of 66 rupees 85 paise per dollar. The rupee, in fact, being trading around 2-year lows for some time now. In fact, Chinese stocks also plunging over 3%, contributing to weakness in the domestic markets. Sensex lost over 300 points, while Nifty traded nearly 100 points down. Concerns about a rate hike in the US as early as next week have led to selling by foreign investors.
ग्लोबल वोलेटिलिटी है, जिस तरीके से भारतीय बाजारों में वोलेटिलिटी आज सुबह से देखने को मिल रही है, ये ट्रेडर्स मार्केट नहीं है। ट्रेडिंग के लिए अगर कोई आदमी आ रहा है शॉर्ट टर्म के लिए, तो पैसा देने के चांसेस ज्यादा हैं, पैसा कमाने के चांसेस कम है। मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि ये एक निवेश का मौका है, लेकिन लंबी अवधि का नजरिया बनाना चाहिए। अपने पैसे को निवेश करना चाहिए, बोरोड फंड को मार्केट में नहीं लगाना चाहिए।
In other news, a day before the Congress Working Committee meeting, party's Vice President Rahul Gandhi is holding discussions with the Congress legislative party leaders from states where it is in opposition. The CWC meet is expected to chalk the party's strategy in such states in the coming days. It's also expected to discuss ways to counter the Modi government on a number of issues. The meeting comes days after the land ordinance was allowed to lapse by the government after facing stiff all-round resistance. The meeting also assumes significance ahead of the Bihar Assembly elections, where the party is seeking to come to power in alliance with the JDU and the RJD. For more on this story, we're joined by correspondent Vishal Dahiya joining us from the newsroom now. Vishal, can you give us, in fact, some idea of what exactly went on in that meeting?
Well, Tracy, I'm in fact at 15 GRG Road. That's the war room of the Congress party. Important meetings takes place out here, and it has been almost 2.5 hours now since the meeting has been on. The Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi is closeted in this meeting along with at least 1 dozen CLP leaders of those, specifically of those states where the Congress is not in power. Now, yes, tomorrow's CWC meeting being one of the reasons maybe for these leaders to go ahead and put their heads together to try and find out as to what exactly is happening. But one thing is pretty sure and pretty important out here, that is that given the fact the Vice President of the Congress party has been visiting several states in the past, he's been making visits to specific states on specific issues, raising those issues, meeting people, and in fact he's going to visit another state, that's Odisha, in a few days from now. So obviously an interaction with the Congress legislative party leaders maybe just a day ahead of the CWC would be sort of an exercise to try and gather more points, to try and gather more information as to what exactly is happening in those states. 1, 2, what can be done to try and put that particular situation into specific words, or into specific through a specific communication to the people of those states. Now, since the last year and a half, since that humiliating loss in the Lok Sabha elections, we've seen the Vice President of the party trying to build a rapport with the people, try and build that confidence amongst the party workers, as well as bring people back to supporting the Congress party. So obviously this is just part and parcel of that entire long drawn process, and this is likely to continue further as well. But then tomorrow is the more important Congress Working Committee meeting. So obviously whatever deliberations happen out here might also have a say, or a say rather, in tomorrow's CWC.
And trying to strengthen your leaders, this meeting coming, of course, after the land ordinance was allowed to lapse by the government. The Congress, of course, going to be projecting that as their victory as well.
Well, yes, obviously, amidst all those politically or electorally bad news which have been coming in for the Congress for almost 1.5 years now, not only the Lok Sabha elections but assembly elections in several states also, the party didn't do well. So any front wherein the party seems to be scoring over the ruling party, that's the BJP, that would definitely be touted as a big win by the Congress party's leader. And that's exactly the same thing which is happening in the land acquisition bill. The party leaders have been trying to propose, or presented rather, a very big victory for the main opposition camp out here. So obviously that might be one of the things which the Congress Vice President might want to discuss with the CLP leaders of his party from several states, and given the fact that some of those states are the areas where he had gone and specifically spoken to farmers on this issue. So that is definitely one of the major issues.
All right, Vishal Dahiya joining us from outside where the meeting is, of course, taking place. Thanks so much for joining us with those details. Meanwhile, let's take a close situation at the floods that are developing in Assam. In fact, continuing to be critical. 5 more people have died, taking the toll to 41 now. There is no let-up in the situation, with River Brahmaputra now flowing above the danger mark at many places. An estimated 18 lakh people have been reeling under flood waters in nearly 1,900 villages across the state. Dhubri is the worst affected district, with nearly 4.5 people affected. The state government has set up over 270 relief camps to provide shelter to victims. The State Disaster Management Authority also saying that nearly 1.1 lakh hectares of cropland is underwater currently. And now let's get you more updates from across the country in Nationwide. The Supreme Court has ruled out judicial intervention to end the FTII logjam. It has rejected a plea to direct the Maharashtra government to provide security to students who want to attend the classes. The students have been on a strike for the past 3 months over demands to remove Gajendra Chauhan as the chairman of the institute. They claim that he lacks credentials and vision to head the prestigious Film Institute. The Interpol has questioned the Enforcement Directorate on why it sought a red corner notice against former IPL Commissioner Lalit Modi. Modi is facing a probe for his alleged role in money laundering and irregularities in the IPL. But red corner notices are an international lookout notice for fugitives. Interpol is expected to take a decision on Lalit Modi later this month. An uneasy calm continues in Churchandpur district of Manipur, where clashes broke out last week between local tribals and police, killing 8 people. In fact, the death toll went up by 9 today, with a man succumbing to burn injuries. Tribals have been protesting against the passage of 3 bills in the Manipur Assembly to protect the indigenous people of the state. A special court allowed the NIA's plea seeking its permission to conduct polygraph test on suspected Lashkar operative Ahmed Bhatt, arrested in connection with the Udhampur terror attack case. While allowing the NIA's plea, the court said that Bhatt's polygraph test will be conducted at the Central Forensic Science Laboratory in the national capital on Tuesday. With that, we'll take a quick break here. But coming up next, we're getting international news. And Germany is receiving thousands of migrants with open arms, urging all EU nations to follow suit. Details of that in a bit.
Government decides on one rank, one pension. Culmination of a 40-year wait for veterans and war widows. Where does the government give in? Where does it not? And why aren't satisfied? Watch The Big Picture at 6:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha Television.
Hello, I am Ishan Russell.
I'm Tracy Shilchi and you're watching News Tonight.
Together with the team of our
Dedicated professionals from across various fields.
This is Shyam Sundar,
Vishal Dahiya,
Akhilesh Suman,
Frank Pereira from Beijing, China.
Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
We bring to you
the news that matters here on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back. Now let's head across the capital, where the Prime Minister Narendra Modi is addressing top officials on the use of space applications in daily governance. Over 1,500 delegates are attending the one-day national space meet. In fact, ISRO officials did hold presentations for the central and the state ministers as well.
मायने का मिल जाता है, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मिल जाता है, लेकिन जो उसको 2 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर बाय 2 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर एरिया मिला होगा, वो वहां शुरू नहीं करता है, के बगल में खुदाई करता है। अब कोई जाएगा तो उसको भी लगता है हाँ यार उसको तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मिला हुआ है, वो थोड़ा नापता है कि कितने फुट कहाँ है। लेकिन अगर उसको सैटेलाइट सिस्टम से वॉच किया जाए तो 1 इंच इधर नहीं जा सकता। जो जगह उसको तय हुई है वहीं पर ही माइनिंग कर सकता है और हम उसके व्हीकल्स को ट्रैक कर सकते हैं कि दिन में कितने व्हीकल निकले, कितना गया, और टैक्सेशन सिस्टम के साथ भी उसको जोड़ा जा सकता है। ये आराम से काम हो सकता है। हमारे यहाँ रोड टैक्स लेते हैं, कभी कभार रोड टैक्स में हम टेक्नोलॉजी का उपयोग करके बहुत मात्रा में लीकेजेज बचा सकते हैं, जस्ट विद द हेल्प ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी। और हम स्मूथ व्यवस्थाओं को विकसित कर सकते हैं। मेरा कहने का तात्पर्य यह है कि हमारे पास एक ऐसी व्यवस्था उपलब्ध है और एक लंबे अरसे तक हमारे साइंटिस्टों ने पुरुषार्थ करके इसको पाया है। हमारा दायित्व बनता है कि हम इसको सहज रूप से कैसे अपने यहाँ लागू करें। और जो भी विभाग इसका आदी होगा, जिसको जरा स्वभाव होगा, आपने देखा होगा, इसको लगता है कि ये तो मेरे पूरी काम को ही बड़ा इजी बना दिया है, बड़ा सरल कर दिया है, तो वो उसमें फिर इन्वॉल्व होता जाएगा। जिसको ये पता नहीं भाई इसका क्या है, तो क्या यार छोड़ो भाई, मैं 2 साल के बाद रिटायर्ड होना है, क्या है, छोड़ो यार तुम कर लेना। जो ऊर्जा खो देते हैं जी, वो रिटायर्ड होने के बाद भी जिंदगी का मजा नहीं ले सकते। और इसलिए हम हर पल भले हम सीनियर मोस्ट हैं, जिंदगी के आखिरी पड़ाव में पद आता है, तो भी हम कोई ऐसे फुटप्रिंट छोड़ के जाएं ताकि हमारे बाद की नई पीढ़ियों को सालों तक काम करने का अवसर मिले। ये जो आज प्रयास किया, उसमें मैंने एक प्रकार से 3 पीढ़ी को इकट्ठा किया। जो फ्रेश अभी मसूरे से निकले हैं वो नौजवान भी यहाँ बैठे हैं, और जो सोचते होंगे भाई 30 तारीख को रिटायर होना है कि अगली 30 तारीख को होना है, वो भी बैठे हैं। अनेक प्रकार से 3 पीढ़ी यहाँ बैठी है। मैंने इस सबको इकट्ठा करने का मेरा प्रयास है था। जूनियर लोगों को यहाँ ज्यादा बिठाया, इसका कारण यह है कि मैं चाहता हूं ये लीगेसी आगे बढ़े। ऐसा ना हो कि फिर नई टीम आए तब उनको चिंता होगा अब क्या करें यार, पुराने वाले तो चले गए, या पुराने वाला सोचेगा बोला आखिर में क्या करे भाई, अभी एक बार चला लो। हमारे लिए सबसे बड़ी आवश्यकता है हर डिपार्टमेंट एक छोटा काम सोचे कि हम 2015 में, अभी भी हमारे पास 3-4 महीने हैं, एक चीज आइडेंटिफाई करें। हमें लगता है कि सैटेलाइट सिस्टम से हम इसको उपयोग कर सकते हैं।
All right, so the Prime Minister, they're speaking on the use of space technology in the functioning of the government. But now from the space meet, let's turn our focus to education. In a special report, students can apply for educational loans from multiple banks now through a single application. The government has launched an online portal that will connect students to various banks to avail education loans. Here are more details.
A single window to help students acquire bank loans for education. The online portal Vidya Lakshmi will allow students to apply at multiple banks, besides offering them information on schemes and status of applications.
If anybody wanted to have any education loan, then he was supposed to go to the branch. Maybe that one branch manager may not be interested in fact in taking up any advance proposal, or he may not be having the adequate staff in fact to take care of his application. So then he was supposed to go to other bank, to other branches in fact. Now everything is online, so and moreover there is a scheme for the grievances also. He can view the status of his application online also.
The portal is also linked to the National Scholarship Portal for information on scholarships. So far, 15 banks have joined the portal that will eventually cover all state-run banks.
Education loans, they should spell out what is the rate of interest, so that there may not be interest rate differentiation, because that will not drive them to all the banks. The best thing is they can spell out the schemes of all the banks and try to bring out a common scheme detailing all the points that are normally spread out in the application forms.
Public sector banks saw a decline of 0.16% in education loans sanctioned till March 2014. They're expected to achieve 20% in educational loans and 15% in the number of accounts this fiscal. As of March 31st this year, there are 25 lakh education loan accounts with outstanding amount of 61,967 crore rupees. Anshu J6 report for Rajya Sabha TV.
On to international news, and 2 Indians have been taken into custody for questioning by Thai police after they were seen on CCTVs talking to a foreign suspect wanted in the Bangkok blast case. The 2 Indians have been taken to a military camp for questioning. They were allegedly staying in the next room to the one where the police found bomb-making materials. Thai police is closely combing areas to search people behind the August 17th bomb blast at the popular Erawan Brahma Shrine, which killed 20 people and injured more than 100 others. Police so far have issued arrest warrants for 10 suspects in connection with the case. 2 foreign suspects have also been arrested. One of them was carrying a Chinese passport. Now on to the latest in the migrant crisis, and Germany is releasing €6 billion as aid to refugees seeking asylum in the country. Besides this, it will also speed up registration procedures and build more shelters. However, there are many who are expressing concern over the extent of help coming in the wake of the steady stream of migrants.
Not only opening its doors to the migrants, Germany's coalition government is digging deep into its coffers as well, pledging to spend €6 billion to support the refugee influx. €3 billion will go to the federal states and municipalities, and an additional €3 billion will help cope with the inflow. Other measures will include speeding up asylum procedures, facilitating shelters, replacing cash allowances with benefits in kind. The agreement includes a list of safe nations, meaning asylum seekers from those nations can be deported more rapidly. Kosovo, Albania, and Montenegro were added to the list. It also a fair distribution of refugees between European Union states. France has agreed to accept 24,000 refugees under the European Commission plan.
La France, elle est disposée à prendre sa part. La Commission européenne propose ou va proposer de répartir 120 000 réfugiés sur les 2 prochaines années, ce qui représentera pour la France 24 000 personnes.
Wir brauchen hier auch eine Kraftanstrengung der Europäischen Union. Nur mit gemeinsamer europäischer Solidarität werden wir diesen Kraftakt meistern.
Wir Deutschen haben ein großes Interesse daran, diese offenen Grenzen zu erhalten. Aber jeder muss wissen, dass auf Dauer, wenn es sich immer nur auf 3 Länder konzentriert, die Debatte ganz schnell eine andere werden wird.
But Merkel's decision to waive off EU rules and allow thousands to find a new home in Germany has caused a rift within. Critics have accused Merkel of creating a dangerous precedent. Hungary has emerged as one of the main flashpoints of the crisis, being the primary gateway for migrants traveling into the European Union.
Ich will hier noch einmal betonen, dass trotz der Entscheidungen am Wochenende Dublin III gilt. Ich habe darüber auch mit dem ungarischen Ministerpräsidenten gesprochen. Und Dublin III gilt für alle Mitgliedstaaten der Europäischen Union.
18,000 migrants have arrived in Germany and Austria so far. Germany says its borders are open for more and wants other European states to do the same. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Turning our focus to sports now, Day 7 at the US Open passed without any major shock defeats as top seeds advanced to the quarterfinals. Novak Djokovic and defending champion Marin Cilic had to toil hard for their victories, but in the women's singles, top-seeded Serena Williams has set up a quarter-final clash with her elder sister Venus. Meanwhile, the Indo-Swiss pair of Sania Mirza and Martina Hingis also reached the quarterfinals in the women's doubles. Here's a detailed report.
Men's top seed Novak Djokovic was pushed hard by his Spanish opponent Roberto Bautista Agut in the 4th round at the US Open.
Djokovic.
The Spaniard came back after losing the first set to take the second from being 4-2 down. The Serb, however, regained his composure and took the next 2 sets to win the match and reach his 26th consecutive Grand Slam quarterfinal.
He made me work for every point. You know, I had to get into the rallies. It was not easy. Obviously, we got a lot of returns back. Not many free points from the serve, but again, it's a great win over 3 hours, and I enjoyed this night session, definitely.
Defending champion Marin Cilic also advanced to the quarterfinals after a hard-fought win over Frenchman Jeremy Chardy. The Croatian won in 4 sets and will next play another Frenchman, Jo-Wilfried Tsonga. In women's singles, 21 times Grand Slam winner Serena Williams continued her pursuit of a calendar year Grand Slam after beating fellow American Madison Keys in straight sets. The victory sets her up for a quarterfinal clash with her elder sister Venus. Having already won 3 Grand Slams this year, Serena is aiming to become only the 4th woman in history to win all the Grand Slam in the same year.
I don't feel any pressure. It's, you know, I wanted that Serena Slam. Winning 4 in a row at Wimbledon was amazing. And now I have a chance to go for it here, a 5 in a row actually, but just in front of this New York crowd is great.
In women's doubles, Sania Mirza and her Swiss partner Martina Hingis stayed on course for a second Grand Slam after a 6-3, 6-0 victory over Michela Krajicek and Barbara Stakova. The pair will play 9-seeded Chinese Taipei duo of Yuan Zhan Chan and Hao Qing in the quarterfinal. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And here's more sporting action in SportsBeat. Italy moved closer to qualifying for the 2016 European Championship after beating Bulgaria 1-0 to top Group H. Daniel De Rossi scored with retaking the penalty in the 6th minute for Italy after Veselin Minev tripped Antonio Candreva. Italy now sit 2 points ahead of Norway and 3 ahead of Croatia and 2 qualifiers away to Azerbaijan and at home to Norway remaining. Iceland and Czech Republic qualified for the Euro 2016 Championship. It was the first time that Iceland secured a berth after a goalless draw with Kazakhstan. Iceland only needed a point to finish on top in Group A. The Czechs sealed their place by beating Latvia 2-1. Portugal and Albania are all set to play each other for the UEFA European Cup qualification. Portugal currently top the group with 12 points with only a 1-point lead over Denmark. The Portuguese have a game in hand, having only played 5 matches so far. Albania hold the playoff spot in the competition as they are third in the group. Their place seems secure as they hold a 10-point lead over Serbia and Armenia, who are in the bottom teams. And that's all we have here on the news at 6. Thanks so much for joining us.